I'm Scott Cholin, lead animator here at City State Entertainment. There have been a lot of questions on animation within the current build of our game, most of which haven't been changed since our BSC days. So today I'd like to answer those questions, show you where we are, and where we plan to go. The core concept of combat in CU is built to support interaction. This isn't the game where you fire off your standard ability rotation while your opponent does the same and it's completely apparent between the two of you of what the other is doing. Instead, we want players to have to pay attention and adapt to what's happening around them. This presents a difficult task for our animation system. Our combat system is based on one of our foundational principles: what you see is what you get. We want to establish a visual display of information through animation. In typical MMORPG combat, animations are a single one-off clip that plays from start to finish at a fixed speed, with only the ability to break early and go back to an idle state in case of the ability being cancelled or interrupted. So we need more than that, and we've designed our custom animation system with multiple parts, which allow for our abilities to be longer or shorter based on the dynamic changes to stats, as well as having different branches of behaviors to accommodate follow-up or counterattacks. This animation system is also designed to be independent for directional input from the player. Melee actions can be done uninterrupted between standing and walking. The lower body is driven by locomotion animation, while the upper body continues to execute the combat ability. There are some abilities, of course, which slow down the movement or require the character to be stationary for balance reasons, but the animation system fully supports masking of the upper and lower body. Each ability animation in CU is made up of 6 parts, which all link together in sequence to play a smooth animation. The first part is called a fixed prepare. So this is the transition between an idle combat stance to a ready state, which the player can recognize as an indication of what type of ability is being used. This part has a fixed duration. However, it involves motion that would look unnatural if we were to influence it by speeding it up or down. So the next part that follows it is a prepare loop. So the prepare loop is where the character holds the prepare pose for as long as we need him to, in order to cover the extra length we need for slower abilities constructed from components that add preparation time to ability activations, stat debuffs that can be used in combat, or to cause an enemy's abilities to take longer. The next part is the action. This is obviously conveying the action of what the character is actually doing, leading the ability effect to actually be triggered. This would be the time the weapon actually swings forward and hits its target, or when the spell finishes being cast and it invokes a projectile, or whatever it might be. Again, this is a fixed amount of time, and when we get this far in the ability, it can no longer be disrupted because we're committing to applying the effects of the ability and playing the triggered reactionary animations such as your target's block. So after the action, it's followed by a fixed recover. This part mirrors the purpose of the fixed prepare in the aftermath of the ability's effect. This is not a standard global cooldown, but it does fulfill the same purpose. It allows the continuation of the animation to go beyond the point to where the ability has applied its effect, and then it's on its way back to an idle state, where the character is then able to start all over again and activate a new ability. And again, just like the prepare loop, there's also a recovery loop, which gives the same functionality to increase or decrease the ability recovery time as needed for different abilities or in proportion to a dynamic stat modifier, or placed on the character during combat. So once this is all complete, we perform one final short animation, which is a blend back to idle, and that's the unified pose from which all the other similar weapon type animations stem from. So our goal is to convey as much information as we possibly can through character animation and effects. We want to give rival players the visual information to read rather than information overlaid on a user interface display. We want you as players to recognize whether or not the other player is primed for attack or is in a vulnerable state of recovery. We're basing our combat system on historical combat methods and natural motion, so hopefully this will be a very satisfying experience for players. It'll take strategy and timing and the ability to learn to read the animations of an attacking player and use it to your advantage. You can see here we have animations that clearly show whether it's a low, medium, or high attack. It's our desire to have these attacks target a selected body region and do damage accordingly. Our game designer, Ben Peelstick, has acquired a wealth of knowledge in medieval combat techniques, as well as a plethora of replica weapons. Other than beating ourselves over the head with rubber swords, Ben and I find video references and historical combat documents to break down our actions into simple, recognizable holds that facilitate our 6-part animation requirements. Another foundational principle, choices matter. Well, you can see here we have plenty of choices to weigh you down when it comes to weapon selection. These are all the necessary animation clips needed to equip or unequip a desired weapon. We want to have all weapons visually represented on the character, and again, it reinforces our goal of designing the system, which is what you see is what you get. We want to avoid the magical appearing and disappearing of weapons in an inventory. You can see here, this is the spreadsheet we use to keep track of all of our prototype combat animations. You can see how many animations Sandra and I have created to facilitate all the available weapon combinations. And here are some more examples of attack animations that will be available to players. This is only a brief introduction into how the animation system will help support combat in CU, but hopefully you can see that we're putting a lot of work into it, and we hope that it'll be a unique and engaging combat experience. As we complete the technical tasks required to get this system into testing, you can expect to see a wide variety of different animations to cover spellcasting, archery, and many forms of different melee attacks and defenses for our various weapon types. So if you're interested in seeing more, be sure to keep your eye out on our website for future updates. And if you're already testing some of the basics of this system in our extended alpha testing, be sure to let us know what you think in the forums as you start to see the new animations coming online. So thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.